Hi guys, welcome back to another video. It's that time of the month where we do a wrap up of the books that I read during the month. So obviously this is our February book reading wrap up. So I thought I would quickly start off with a few stat stuff quickly. So it was the end of my seasonal winter TBR, and unfortunately I didn't get to those books that I had hoped to finish by winter, but it's okay, most of those I have just skipped on to the next season. In terms of reading breakdown, I didn't read any library loans. I read one book that was borrowed from a friend, no like arcs or anything like that, no ebooks, and I read 7 physical books in total. The way I've broke them out into genre, I read 3 YA fantasy, 2 YA contemporary, 1 adult fantasy and 1 non-fiction. Just any updates, I wanted to make sure that I read one book before an event at the end of February, which I will talk to you guys in a bit about. And I got all the booktube videos that I wanted to get up during February as well. So let's crack on now to the actual books. So the first one here is one I've already done a book review on, and the first book that I finished for the month was Mage by Garth Nix. I gave this one a 5 stars. I don't want to talk about too much detail as I've already done a full review. But this is a new adult fantasy by one of my favourite authors, Garth Nix, and I do believe it's a standalone, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we are in a world where this dramatic event happened. So basically, I can never find a simple way to explain the synopsis, but we have this main character who has a very strong affiliation with angels. So each kind of I don't want to call it like queendom, I guess. They have an archangel that they're allegiance to, or the archangel's allegiance to them, and they can summon them to get stuff done that they need to get done. And they're, you know, a mage that summons these angels. And we have one girl who's very strong wielder of these powers. There is a downfall of this world, and then we're shot forward in time where the threat is awakening again, and we're following 4 main characters who have something special. They all feel that they're connected when they eventually meet, and you kind of see how that plot unfolds and how it relates to the original story. That was like the worst synopsis ever, but please check out my written review and my video review if you're interested, because it is a really good book. So yeah, that one got a 5 stars from me. Next up, I read a short book. This is Pet by Allocator Mambo. So this one was another one that I was kind of confused in terms of what it was really about. So we're in Lucille, which is the place that these characters are living, and they believe, like, so our main character, Jan, they've all got really interesting names. She believes that, well, they're all told that the monsters are gone. There's no monsters anymore. The angels descended and got rid of them. So my confusion to begin with was I didn't know whether it was like metaphorical angels or real angels, and it's kind of like a blend of both. So I would call it kind of magical realism in a way. So the angels being spoken about are the good people of this city. They cleared out all the bad people, got rid of them, and you know, there was no room for error. Everything was cool, everything was sweet. But a painting her mother does comes to life and warns Jan that there is still monsters about and they need to get hunting to get rid of the threat. But nobody will kind of listen to her because Lucille is so strong and sure that they got rid of all their monsters. So it's up to Jan and this creature that came out of the painting and her best friend to go about and hunt this monster and get rid of them once and for all. So it is a really unique book. There is so much, I don't even know, I can't even put into words my thoughts about this book even now, and I read this more at the beginning of February, but I gave this a 4 stars. The conversation of monsters within humanity through the eyes of a fantastical monster or beast itself was so lyrical in the way it was structured and delivered. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I loved that we had a lot of minority rep from a main character. Not only is she black, she's also transgender, and she is a selective mute. So she chooses kind of when to use her voice and when not to. And I've got to say about that matter. It's really odd describing this because it's written, so I wasn't really hearing anything, but the use of sound within this book was absolutely phenomenal. The lack of speech was great because it's given to you in a really beautiful way. You can tell when she is using her voice and when she's signing and when she's using her mind, which makes sense if you've read the book. But it's like her awareness of the sounds and the subtle movements within her own house is amazing. She uses that to her advantage to know what's going on, to feel safe and comfortable, and I just feel the whole conversation on that was really well done, and something I don't think I've read anywhere before, which was really fascinating. I will say that it left me kind of feeling unsettled but also like melancholy, but that's not altogether a bad thing. It's just, it left me in kind of a funky mood after reading it, but it was fantastic. It's only a short read and I feel like for the size of it, it definitely packs a punch. I'm so glad I picked this up because it was like a random sort of cover buy when I couldn't find, funny enough, Angel Mage when I went into Waterstones when I went to buy it. So I picked this up and a couple of others instead, and yeah, amazing. Definitely check this out. So after that, something I'm really going to zoom through now because I've got a whole reading vlog on it, whole experience, whole review. Funnily enough, I'm just exporting the video right now as I film this. But that is of course Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. So I finally continued on with book 5, I believe, in the series. So I've not got much long to go now at all, really. So I gave this a 4 stars. Check out the video if you're interested. I also went to the Harry Potter studios where it shows you all the making of the films and that, so yeah, check out that and see what I went up to and what I thought and felt as I was reading this book as well. I picked up some graphic novels next, just for some lighter reads, because although Pet was small, it packed a punch, and obviously the 2 books either side them were rather chunky. So the first one of the graphic novels I picked up was Rainbow Rowell's Pumpkinheads, and it's illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks. This is a sweet little one. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. So we're following these 2 characters, Josiah and Deja, who every Halloween season they work on this pumpkin patch, but unfortunately it's coming to their last season because they're both becoming seniors in high school, or they're both going off to college. I don't really know American structures of schooling, but I think they're going off to college, yes. And so Josiah is kind of being melancholy about the whole thing. He doesn't really want, I don't know, he's just very reflective in general, and Deja's trying to make it the best last shift ever by trying to get Josiah to talk to the girl that he's always wanted to talk to, and Deja to eat all their favourite snacks for like one last time, go out with a bang sort of thing. But it takes a turn and it is a really lovely story. So the friendship between Josiah and Deja was absolutely beautiful. It was so adorable. The whole story in itself was completely wholesome. It was simple in its structure and what the plot was actually about, but it was so sweet. I feel like it was just the perfect read. The art and colour choices were absolutely stunning. We've got some full colour map, so it's the same map at the front as is at the back, but the colours are beautiful. So that's clearly in the daytime, and then the tones are just like muted of night. Absolutely beautiful. And just a quick like brief look without trying to spoil anything, just the colours and tones, and I don't know, it's just so sweet. And I love the fact that I can see myself in Deja, which is really nice, like as a character, her traits, her personality, those sort of things. And yeah, this was a really good read. I'm gonna have to maybe read it again during October just to get those cutesy, Halloween-y, pumpkin-y vibes without scaring myself. It was a beautiful read. And funny enough, that was my first Rainbow Rowell book in a long while. I feel like I've forgotten how much I enjoyed her books. And then I picked up another beautiful graphic novel. This is Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Osman. So this one I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So in this one, it basically says it on the front, boy meets boy, and then on the back it says boy becomes friends, boys fall in love. And it was just everything. It was just so heartwarming, perfect, beautiful. So we've got our main 2 characters, Charlie and Nick. Charlie has to recently like switch forms or something in his school, and he ends up sitting next to Nick. They're very unlikely friends. Nick is very outgoing, friendly, rugby, sports kind of guy, and Nick is, he's got a lot of friends, quite popular, but he's recently just been outed as the gay boy in the all-boys school, and so he's still got some of that like on his mind. He's just coming to terms with, you know, people kind of getting back to normal and not being horrible to him, and he's just a really nice guy, pretty chill, into his music, and so they become friends. And obviously, you know, by the synopsis, they end up falling for each other, and it's just so beautiful. So it reminded me of that nostalgic feeling of talking to your crush and kind of getting to know each other for the first time, and I don't know, it's just so sweet, and it just made me feel like my heart was so full and content. The characters were beautiful, both in illustration and just how they were, like, their personalities shone through, like lovely characters. And I also loved the relatable British humour. I do think though that the ages are a bit funny, because like, I don't know, okay, so I think it's got birth dates at the end, but I don't know if Charlie is about to be 15, but he's currently 14 and Nick is 16, and for me that's just a little bit weird. Like, I know when you're at school it's probably not that big of a deal, but when you, in my head, this is how I view it, when you know like legally what a 16-year-old's allowed to do, not saying that, oh, this is what's going to happen all the time in all situations, but when you know that in the UK what they're allowed to do, and then a 14-year-old's like a child to me, 16-year-old's still a child, but there's different child. I don't know how to explain this, I just think that age is a little bit weird, but other than that, absolutely beautiful. I'm probably the only one that's put that out there, and now people are going to be like, oh, you're so silly, why would you mention that? But like, it's something that's in my mind, like, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, that was a beautiful story nevertheless. I feel like relatively soon I'm going to collect the rest of the ones that are out and sort of read them back to back because they were just so beautiful. Next up, the book that I had borrowed from my friend was This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. I don't have the dust jacket because she literally just gave it to me in the locker room at work. But yeah, I decided to check this out as a non-fiction. So we are reading the diary entries of a young junior doctor, sorry. You know from the beginning that he eventually gives up the profession, and although it's full of so many funny anecdotes and like stories, you can see like there's some real stuff in here, how doctors and medical staff in general are treated, the kind of lack of support that they get. I don't know, it's just, you can see why he gave it up in the end. And nicely enough, it wasn't too smart, which I kind of was the idea that put me off of it in the first place, because it is something that I've seen circling around for a little while and I did want to read it, but it was in my head like, I've been to uni but I studied animal management as a general degree. I didn't go in specifically for like veterinary nursing or human nursing or anything like that, so I thought, oh, maybe there's a lot in this that it would just go over my head. But there's some handy dandy footnotes. It's written in a way that's very easily accessible for people, I would say. And yeah, I definitely fully enjoyed this. I will say though, there were a few crude kind of gross jokes at times that were a little bit too much, a little bit too full on. But other than that, it was a really funny book, really sad and really pivotal in giving you an insider's view on what it's really like being a doctor and the kind of pressures that are expected without any support given to ease those pressures, you know. But yeah, this was a 5-star read for me. This is absolutely fantastic. And lastly, just wrapping it up real quickly, I read the last Spider-Man and Deadpool collection of issues. That was a weird sentence. So it's volume 4 and it's called No Laughing Matter, but it also is called, I guess, Serious Business because it's got that title under there, I don't know. By Joshua Corrin, who's like the main author of it. And yeah, it's my fault entirely really, because I accidentally skipped volume 3. I had 3 volumes, so I just, in my mind, I think every time I was about to read this and put it down, I remembered it was volume 4, and that's why I was waiting to get the volume 3. But this last time I just picked it up and didn't even think, and I'm like, oh, this is volume 4 and I don't have volume 3. But it's okay, like, they're not like complete, like in order, I guess, if you think about it that way. It's episodic, so I think it's okay to skip it. But yeah, so that was my fault. I think there's only 4 of them out now. I think it's like a finished thing. But yeah, it's not as funny as the first 2 that I read, unfortunately, but it was still generally enjoyable. The artwork, of course, as usual, was excellent. And I enjoyed the concept specifically of Murder World, which was really interesting. Kind of reminded me of the idea of Hunger Games, even though I've never read or seen anything to do with that, but that general, like, survival weird game thing. So yeah, those are the nice stack of books that I got through during February. Please let me know what you're planning on reading during March or what you managed to read over in the February. Yeah, I kind of didn't intend to read anything soft and lovey-dovey, but I read a couple. When you think that's the month for romance, I didn't do it intentionally. But I'm glad that I kind of did a little bit of a theme work there. But yeah, So I'll speak to you in another video soon. That was like a really weird ending. I'm gonna go. I think I'm thirsty and I'm tired and just excuses. I'll chat to you later. Bye.